So my husband told me today that I look like a librarian, which, I mean, I was trying to go for more of a fall look because, well, it's fall now, and I'm trying to pretend that it's cooler here than it actually is. Anyways, hi friends. It's good to see you. Thanks for watching. Before we start today, I would like to give a huge shout out to my husband. He is my biggest supporter and promoter, and he is just wonderful. So thanks, love. All right, so I have a story for you today, and this is a story. So I don't love ghost stories. They kind of freak me out. Okay, they really freak me out. But at the same time, they fascinate me. So I have a complicated relationship with them. But I have a story for you today. Have you ever heard of the Lemp Mansion? It is in St. Louis, Missouri. And it is one of the 10 most haunted places in America. It's a place I will never be going. I can promise you that. But so anyway, so the Lemp family began with Johann Adam Lemp, and he arrived in America he arrived in St. Louis from Eschwege. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Eschwege, Germany in 1838. And when he got here, when he got to St. Louis, he originally decided to earn his fortune as a grocer. And so he had a little grocery shop where he sold just regular items and stuff, but he also sold something that was different. He sold a beer that was a light lager. And he learned the recipe from his dad. And in those days, the heavy, dark lagers were what they drank. The heavy, dark beers were what they drank. And so this was quite a difference. People really liked it, and it became really popular. And so, there's a lot with this family. But in just 2 years after he'd come and started the grocery, he was able to give up the grocery and build a small brewery in 1840, close to where the Gateway Arch stands today. He first sold his beer in a pub that was attached to the brewery, and hold on, sorry, looking for something. There we go. Okay. But he soon found that it was too small for both production and storage, and so he found I'm trying a new concealer today. Let's see how this goes. I think it was a sample I got in an empty box, but anyway, so back to Adam Lemp. I believe I've read it both as Johann and John Adam Lemp. I feel like it was Johann. Maybe he Americanized it to John later. But anyway, so to solve this problem, he found a cave where he would store the beer, and to keep it cool, they would chip ice from the Mississippi River, and which just made the conditions perfect for storing the beer. And that is the concealer I used. Yeah, I'll show you what. I've really been liking this combination for the past few days. But anyway, so he So yeah, he used the cave to store the beer, and when mechanical refrigeration became available, or never mind, hold on. And in his brewing company was called Lemp's Brewing Company, and it just became really popular. Might have put on a little too much concealer there. Let's try and smooth it out. So, and continued to prosper, and by the 1850s it was one of the largest in the city. In 1858, the Bear even captured first place at the annual St. Louis Fair. So he was doing pretty dang well for himself. He died August 22nd, 1862, and he was a millionaire at the time of his death. And his son, William, he took over the company from his dad, and he purchased a 5-block area around the storage cave, around the storage house on Cherokee above the logging caves. And in 1864, a new plant was completed. By the 1870s, the Lemp family symbolized wealth and both wealth and power. As the Lemp as they controlled the St. Louis beer market, that this was how popular their beer was. And it maintained their position until Prohibition happened. In 1868, Jacob Freikert, I'll post it. William Lemp's father-in-law had built a house a short distance from the Lemp Brewery, and in 1878, William Lemp purchased it for his family, which he used as both an auxiliary office and a residence. And the home was already impressive, but he turned it into a 33 house Victorian showplace. From the mansion, a tunnel was built through the caves and the brewery, and when mechanical refrigeration became available, the parts of the cave were converted to other purposes, including a natural auditorium and a theater. There was also an underground oasis, which would become a swimming pool, which would later spawn a large below ground swimming pool. And in the middle of the 1890s, the Lemp Brewery gained a national presence, which is pretty cool. They have really done well for themselves. And they, after introducing the popular Falstaff beer, which is still brewed today by another company, the Lemp Western Brewery, was the first brewery to establish coast to coast. What am I looking for? That's what I'm looking for. Coast to coast. Sorry, let me my act together. Coast to coast distribution of its beer. There we go. I forgot to prime my lids again. Oh well. But so I can use that, huh? So anyways, William was also helping Pabst, Anheuser, Anheuser and Busch get started at this time. And he, in the midst of this success, however, the family had a tragedy. William's favorite son and heir to the brewing fortune, his name was Frederick Lemp, passed away in 1901 at the age of 28. And Frederick Lemp had never been in good health, and he died of heart failure. I read another one that said he died of mysterious circumstances, but I don't know. I feel like it was probably heart failure. So William really did not take this well, and it began his decline. After his son passed away, he was rarely seen in public again. And he really, because he was just devastated that his son had passed away. And on January 1st, 1904, his closest friend, Frederick Pabst, also passed away. And this just really cemented his decline. He became withdrawn even more. He was still at the office every day, but he became unsettled and nervous, and unfortunately and his physical and mental health, it took a major downturn. And then on February 13th, 1904, he shot himself in the head with a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson. In November of 1904, William Kemp Jr. took over as the new president of William J. Lemp Brewing Company. And William Jr. and his wife, his wife Lillian began to spend their inheritance, filling the house with all sorts of things and just spending that money. I need to come up with a new word. Then, sorry guys. They also spent huge amounts on carriages, clothing, and art. Lillian was a beautiful woman who came from a wealthy family. And she and William Jr. had married in 1899. And she became known as the Lavender Lady because she loved the color lavender and always wore it, or at least wore it very often. And she even had went so far as to have the horses' bridles dipped in lavender. She just really, really liked the color lavender, apparently. And in the beginning, William enjoyed showing off his trophy wife, but he was a player. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and was used to doing whatever he wanted. Well, he soon became bored with his wife, unfortunately, and he demanded that she must spend her time shopping, which, I mean, honestly, I feel like that's a problem that a lot of people would like to have, just having to go shopping all the time. Hold on. Ooh. But, and he allotted her $1,000 every day, but if she did not, with the stipulation that if she did not spend it, she wouldn't get any more. Which again, I feel like that's a problem I'd like to have, you know, being able to spend $1,000 every day, but not with the problems it came with. I mean, having to spend $1,000 every day or not getting any more, and plus having to deal with the kind of husband he became, no thanks. I think I'll deal with my problems of not having $1,000 to spend every day. Okay, what am I looking for? Where did that go? I know it's not right. There we go. So in the meantime, William was busy running the business and during the day and pursuing all manners of activities during the nights. Oh, sorry, not mean to flash that mirror at you guys. So he would and he liked to party, and he would just sleep with all kinds of women of the night, and just, he wasn't interested in his wife anymore, but he was interested in partying. And he was still running the business and making it profitable. But he would hold all sorts of lavish parties at night in the mansion. And but he and Lillian also had a son, William Lemp III, and he was born in 1900, September 26, 1900. He would bring in numerous, anyway, back to William's partying, William II. He would bring in numerous prostitutes for entertainment, and they would, just feel like he just wasn't such a great guy. They would enjoy the swimming pool, the bowling alley, and the free-flowing beer. Guess it pays to be friends with the owner of a brewery, huh? And just, however, his shenanigans caught up with him when he sired a child with someone other than his wife. He sired a son, and I love that. He sired a son with her, and he'd use a little less on that, I think. So this boy, he sired a son with her, with a prostitute, or a woman other than his wife. I don't know if it was a prostitute, but it probably was. And according to St. Louis, but there is no official documentation that this boy ever existed. Is that what I want? I don't think that's what I want. That's not what I want. What did I? Can't really see that, but I'll post it down below later. But according to St. Louis historian Joe Gibbons, who interviewed a former nanny and chauffeur who worked at the mansion long ago, both of them verified that the boy did exist, and he was housed in the attic of the mansion. And this boy, he was born with Down syndrome. And so he was basically considered a blight on the family, which makes me really sad because I've known some people with Down syndrome in my life, and they are some of the just best people ever. But keep in mind, this was the late 1800s, early 1900s, so they didn't know as much back then. All right, good. Brief side note: this bronzer that I'm using, it smells like chocolate, guys. I like it, but I don't know. I mostly like it. Because, I mean, who doesn't want to smell like chocolate? Well, I mean, someone who doesn't really like chocolate, but I kind of like it. But anyway, so back to the Lemp family. Yeah, sadly, he was considered a total embarrassment and shame on the Lemp family, and was hidden away in the attic. And to this day, he's still known as Monkey Face Boy. And this unfortunate soul continues to grace the mansion with his presence. Finally, William Jr. really tired of his trophy wife, and in 1908 filed for divorce. Why she didn't start this with all his goings-on, I don't know. But, because, I mean, she came from a wealthy family herself. I don't actually think she needed his money, but I don't know. Or maybe it was just the scandal she didn't want to deal with. Or it could have just been a sign of the times. So the court proceedings surrounding the divorce became a scandal. And with all 4 St. Louis newspapers reporting on it. And so the trial opened in February of 1909. Crowds flocked to the courthouse each day to witness the drama of violence, drunkenness, atheism, tales of violence, drunkenness, atheism, and cruelty. Virtually ignoring William's tales of decadence and all his partying and stuff, Lillian almost lost custody of their son. But because of a photograph showing her smoking a cigarette. A cigarette, guys. Never mind everything he was doing. She was smoking a cigarette. Oh, man. I know, it was different back then. But, she did retain custody, but soon retired from the public eye. And she was never... And the only time she was seen wearing something other than lavender was the final day of the court proceedings, when she appeared all in black in front of the judge. Oh, and that was the bronzer I used. And with the divorce, Will's troubles had only just begun. In 1906, 9 of the large breweries in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area, had combined to form the independent breweries that, the independent brewery companies that gave him fierce competition. And that the Lemp Brewery had never faced before. In the same year, I said it was 1906, right? Well, if not, it was 1906. In the same year, Will's mother died of cancer on April 16th. Although the brewery's fortunes were continually declining. That's the contour palette I used and the blush I used. With the brewery's fortunes were continually declining, the Lemp Mansion was remodeled in 1911 and partially converted into offices for the brewery. At the same time, William allowed his company's equipment to deteriorate without keeping abreast of industry innovation. By World War I, the brewery was just barely limping along. And he built a country home in the Merrimack River, which he retreated to. And in 1950, he married again for a second time to Ellie Lindbergh, the widowed daughter of the late St. Louis brewer, Casper Kohler, something like that. Then Prohibition came along in 1919, which, as you know, was not good for any breweries. But for a time, Will hoped that Congress would repeal Prohibition, but finally gave up and closed the Lemp plant down without notice. The workers learned of the closing when they showed up for work, which, I mean, that would be super disappointing. And what am I looking for? Sorry guys, I know I'm a little scattered today, but there is a lot here. On March, they showed up to work and found the gates locked. So on March 20th, 1920, Elsa Lemp Wright, who was William's sister, she shot herself just like her father because she was despondent. Who was said to have been despondent over a rocky marriage. And so this is continuing the bad streak that the Lemps have going on here. So William liquidated the assets of the plant and auctioned the buildings he sold the famous Falstaff beer. And the thing is, to brewer Joseph Griesidick for $25,000 in 1922. And this way. Going for kind of a fall look. I'm liking it so far. So yeah, he liquidated his assets, sold the beer, and the brewery buildings were sold to the International Shoe Company for $588,000, which was a fraction of its estimated worth of $7 million in the years before Prohibition. At the end of the Lemp's brewery dynasty, because let's face it, it was a dynasty, William had slipped into a depression because, well, his whole life's work was just kind of going downhill. And he became nervous, erratic. He was shunning public. Where are you? Oh my goodness. Sorry guys, I'm just apparently scattered today everywhere. Might need to go with another. I literally just picked that up. Alright. Hold on, sorry. Hi, I'm back. Okay, so new plan for the look. 2 more brows right now. And he became increasingly nervous and erratic, and was complaining of ill health. And on December 29th of 1922, William shot himself in the heart with a .38 caliber revolver in the very same building where his father had shot himself, or where his father had died 18 years before. He took his life on the main level of the mansion, and he just inside the entrance to the left. At the time of his death, the room served as his office. And he was interred at the family mausoleum at the Bellefontaine Cemetery in the crypt, just like his sister Elsa. So this family so far just has a really sad history. William's brothers, Charles and Edwin, had long ago left the family. They just left the family. The family business. So with William Jr. gone, it seemed that the Lemp Empire had finally ended. But had it? Edwin had entered a life of seclusion at his estate in Kirkwood, Missouri in 1911, and Charles had never been involved in the brewery. and had chosen to work in the banking and real estate fields instead. I can't find anything today. Hold on. I'm back. All right. So, in 1934, yet another tragedy occurred when William Lemp III, who was William Lemp II's son, died of a heart attack at the age of 42. Give me just a sec. And brother Charles eventually remodeled the mansion into these liners are growing on me a little more though. But I wasn't sure I liked them at first, but they've grown on me. But he remodeled the mansion into a residence and lived in the house along with 2 servants and the illegitimate son of his brother, William. And Charles, too, became an odd figure. As he grew older, he developed a morbid fear of germs. And he insisted that he had obsessive compulsive behavior, including wearing gloves everywhere. And he, to avoid bacteria and constantly washing his hands, which I'm assuming he took the gloves off for, because it's really hard to wash your hands with gloves on. But yeah, he wore gloves everywhere, washed his hands constantly. It was during this time that William's illegitimate child, who was now in his 30s, he passed away. He died at the mansion. He was buried at Lemp Cemetery Plot with only a small flat marker with the word Lemp. And shortly after the boy's death, Charles became the 4th member of the Lemp family to shoot himself. First, he shot his beloved Doberman Pinscher in the basement, and then which I don't know why he shot the dog. Apparently he felt the need to shoot the dog too. But he shot his beloved Doberman Pinscher, and then in the basement, and then climbing the staircase to his room on the 2nd floor, he shot himself. He was discovered on May 10th, 1949 by one of his staff, still holding the .38 caliber Army Colt revolver in his right hand. Of the Lemps, only Edwin Lemp, who had avoided... Hold on, guys. I'm going to go finish my lips real quick, and then I'll finish up. I'll be right back. Alright, guys. So I thought this was going to be like a dark red kind of look. Not so much. Not loving it. So I'm going to go fix it, and I'll be right back. Alright. That's about as good as it's going to get right now. I think it looks better. Don't know if I love it. It's not bad. For lipstick being my favorite, I feel like I'm just not doing so great today. But, so I have this Anastasia Beverly Hills lip palette. Love it. It is my favorite lip palette. But I've gotten some of these Anastasia lip palette, sorry. Some of their liquid lipsticks, and just not loving them as much, but love my trusty NYX. It's not the doesn't have the most staying power, but it does have pretty good staying power, and I like the feel. I really like NYX. Anyway, so back to the Lemp family. They Oh, and this was the mascara that I used again today. So, only Edwin Lemp, who had long avoided the life that the rest of the Lemps had been a part of, or he walked away from the brewery company in 1913 and lived his peaceful life in Kirkwood, Missouri. He passed away quietly of natural causes at the age of 90 in 1970. According to his last wishes, his butler burned all the paintings that the Lemps had collected through life, as well as priceless Lemp family documents and artifacts. These irreplaceable pieces of history vanished into the smoke of a blazing bonfire. The last of the Lemps died with him. And the family's resting place can now be found in the beautiful Bellefontaine Cemetery. After the death of Charles Lemp, well, what happened to Lemp Mansion? Oh, let me tell you. After the death of Charles, it was sold. It turned into a boarding house, along with the nearby neighborhood. The building began to deteriorate, and the haunting tales began. Residents complained of ghostly knocks and phantom footsteps heard throughout the house. As these stories spread, tenants were hard to find, and the boarding house continued to decline and to a near flop house status. However, in 1975, the mansion was saved when Dick Pointer and his family purchased it. Immediately, they began to renovate the building, turning it into a restaurant and inn. Workers within the house often heard weird noises, stories of apparitions, strange sounds, vanishing tools, and feelings of being watched. Frightened by the hauntings, many left the job sites and refused to return, which, honestly, I don't blame them. I wouldn't go back either. Since the restaurant opened, the staff members have reported several strange experiences. Again, apparitions appear and quickly vanish. They hear voices, they hear footsteps. Glasses will often lift themselves off and fly through the air by themselves. Again, I will never be visiting this place. Doors are also said to unlock themselves. Lights are said to flicker. Doors are said to lock and unlock themselves. Lights are said to flicker. And the piano bar often plays when no one is near. It's said to be haunted by several members of the Lemp family. There are 3 areas of the mansion that have the most activity: the stairway, the attic, and what the staff refers to as the gates of hell in the basement. It's that area of the basement which used to be the entrance to the caves running to the brewery. The attic is said to be haunted by William Jr.'s illegitimate son, referred to as the monkey face boy. I'm sorry, I feel really bad saying that. But the boy who was born with Down syndrome, and who spent his entire life locked in the attic because he was a blight. But the face of the boy has regularly been seen from the street, peeking from the small windows of the mansion, which because probably what he did a lot of his life, the poor kid being trapped up in the attic. Ghost investigators have often left toys in a circle to see if they've been moved, and when they come back the next day, they've been moved. In the downstairs women's bathroom, which was once William Jr.'s personal domain, and many women have repeated seeing a man peeking over the stall. And William Kemp, in William Kemp Sr.'s room, many guests have reported hearing knocking, hearing running footsteps and knocking on the door, or kicking at the door. Because when William killed himself, William Jr. had run up the stairs and was kicking at the door trying to get to his dad. Several years ago, one part-time guard reported hearing horses outside the where William Kemp Sr. had his office. But there was nothing there when she looked out the window. What is now used as a parking lot was once used to tether horses. The magazine has been featured, the mansion has been featured in several magazines and articles, and it is not a place that I would want to go to. But if you have been there, or if you want to go there, please let me know how it is. Or if you hear any of these, or see any of these apparitions, or hear any of these ghostly noises or anything, let me know down below. And I hope you enjoyed watching today, seeing me do this fall look. I meant it to be kind of a quick fall look, and I feel like it could have been, but it just didn't end up. There was a lot about the Lemp family. Sorry I had to keep checking, but there was a lot about them. It was quite an interesting story. A tragic but interesting story. Please remember to always be patient and kind when interacting with people. Everyone has a story and we don't know what they are. So please be patient and kind, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye!